Okay, Brian says we're live. Welcome, everybody. I'm so happy to see everybody in the room here tonight. Welcome, welcome. Everybody that's on Zoom. I know we have quite a few people on Zoom tonight. We're very excited about tonight's meeting. I love doing these with my partners that I work with quite a bit, my CPA and my estate planning attorney. And me as a wealth advisor, all of us work together quite a lot. So we've got Richard speaking tonight, and we've got Marty here. Tony spoke last time from the CPA firm that we use. So we've got Richard tonight as a new perspective. And again, Marty, our estate planning attorney that we love too. So again, thank you everybody for attending. Really important topics we're going to cover tonight. So I'm going to start a little bit, then I'm going to introduce Marty, and then I'm going to introduce Richard. And then we've got to have some questions from all of you. So on the table in the room, we have note cards. So if you have a question, go ahead and fill that out and hand it in to maybe Connor. By the way, Connor, Carter, and Brian are here, my staff. I love them. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate your help. So I want to give a shout out to them, of course. So if you have questions, type them in if you're on Zoom. Brian's monitoring those. And then everybody in the room here, if you can fill out the cards and hand those to us, that would be great. Now let's try and save those towards the end. It's better, I think, towards the end once we get through each of our presentations. Should be 45 minutes or so, maybe total. We are going to record this. We are going to put this on our website as well. So you can always defer to it later if you missed part of it or you had a question, you want to rehear something somebody said. So again, welcome. This is our first event for the year, is it? No, I did a Building Foundations for Financial Wealth a little bit earlier in January, but this is one of our in-person meetings, and we love doing these. We love educating people. We have a lot of events all year long. Next one after this one is going to be on a real estate program. Sometimes we have product specific, sometimes we have more educational meetings. So if you're new to us, by all means, check the website out because we have a lot of recorded webinars on there. So I'm going to start. Are we going to slides there, Brian? Okay, Brian's in charge. I'm going to let him do some of the slides. Okay, so welcome, welcome. Oh, I've got the slides. Okay. There you go. Okay, can we center that? Okay, so Building Foundations for Financial Wealth. That's what I came up with to name all of my webinars that I do, because I want you to all be educated, right? A huge thing about all of you I know that are my clients in here know that I love to educate. I love to let you know what's available to you. So it's important to make sure you have that. So tonight, my roundtable seminar, again, with my tax CPA, Richard, and my estate planning attorney, Marty, and I'll introduce them in a little bit. So I'm going to start with my section first before I introduce them. So those of you that are new to me, yes, I have a radio show. Many of you found me on the radio show. Could you grab my phone and so you can have her come sit down? Sorry, we got somebody coming in there later. My radio show is great. It's on KNX 1070. It plays every Saturday morning. Lots of great data on there. All of my radio shows go on my website. So I have 5 years of radio shows on there. So CaliforniaWealthAdvisors.com. You can get all of my radio shows on there. Listen to all those. Lots of great topics we talk about there. So by all means, tune into that. And you don't have to listen live on Saturdays. You can go to my website, like I said, or it's on Spotify and what else is it on? Apple or something. I think it's an Apple podcast. There you go. I did write a book too, The Great Retirement Mystery, How to Avoid the 6 Biggest Blunders. I want you to avoid blunders. I want you to not be listening to your neighbor's financial advice. Let's listen to somebody that actually knows what they're doing, or your neighbor that has a tax loophole. I want you to actually listen to a CPA. I don't want you to listen to your neighbor's advice on estate planning. Let's actually talk to Marty that's a good estate planning attorney. So let's make sure we have all that right and we're listening to the right people to help you. Okay, let's see. Why is that not going? I'm not going. Uh-oh. Brian. There we go. Okay. So how I bring all of us together that we're going to speak about tonight is through my private client process. So investment planning, risk management, estate planning, and the family office services. So I'm going to bring my board over here. So Brian, can you go to... So I'm going to write, because I think people maybe understand a little bit better about what I do. I need to go this way. Sorry. When I write it out. So I position myself here as your financial director. So your financial director, I'm the quarterback, if you will, coordinating every CPA, estate planning attorney, anybody else that you might need, insurance person. So I position myself here as your financial director. Your investment dollars are over here. I'll talk about that in a minute. That's largely what I do as well. But also in your overall financial house, because again, this is your financial house we're talking about here, you have risk. So what am I talking about here? Well, there's insurance risk. Do you have the correct insurances that you have on your real estate, on your medical? I can help you with a lot of that. Social Security can be a risk if you don't take it. Let's see, Social Security, SEC. If you don't take that at the right time, that can be a risk for you. Taxes can be a huge risk for you. So that's what Richard's going to talk about tonight, is how to maybe avoid and delay some taxes. Put more money in your pocket. I like to disinherit the IRS. So let's make sure that that's not a risk for you. Because again, if you're sending money out to the IRS, Richard, has anybody ever gotten money back when they send it to the IRS? Pretty much when you get a bill from the IRS, you got to send it to them and they're not going to send it back. So let's make sure the taxes are as low as we can get them. So we're going to have Richard talk about that. So risk is a huge part of your overall financial house. We've got estate planning down here too. So estate planning, Marty's going to talk about this for you. Are your assets titled correctly? Do you have the correct estate planning documents? If you don't, that can be problems for you and your beneficiaries. If something should happen to you, if you should pass away, do your assets go through probate? Or do you only have a will? You don't have the proper estate planning documents. Do you have a power of attorney, a medical directive? These are all the estate planning documents that Marty will come up with you for, or create for you, to make sure you're covered for all your estate work. So this is very important. So all these things really do go together. Then we have what we call the vault over here. That's where we put all of this together for you. So we take a copy of your trust. We take your your previous tax returns. We take anything over here, your insurance documents, for instance. We take that and we put that all in one place here in the vault. A lot of times we take people's passports, copies of them, passports, driver's license, trust, like I mentioned, to put them all in one place. So again, your beneficiaries, your heirs will know where to go if something should happen to you. Very valuable service that we provide here. So the vault is wonderful. The investment dollars, again, very important. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. It doesn't matter if you have $1 million or $100 million. If you're not taking care of all of these things, you're not taking care of your full financial portfolios, your wealth management, if you will, your whole estate. It's very important to do that. So I like to draw this out because I want you all to see how the estate works, the estate planning documents work, how the tax planning works as well. We all go together. We all work very closely together. So with that, I'm going to roll that back, Connor, if you don't mind. Thank you. Thank you. Then I've got one more slide here. Let's see, Brian. I am so good. Thank God for Brian. Okay, so again, the investment part. So have a plan. As far as your investment dollars go, have a plan and make sure it's specific to you. We do no cookie cutter here. We are a full service advisory firm, so we are not going to do cookie cutter for you. We're going to make sure your portfolio is not in portfolio A, B, or C. It's actually tailor-made for you. And the way I do that is through the master proprietary process. And this is in my book as well. But we do it, Brian, I swear. Okay, there we go. The master proprietary process. Hopefully Richard and Marty can handle this little clicker better than I can. Okay, so the master proprietary process. M is the market, stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. Great, love that section. It's red for a reason. It's gonna go up and down. When you come to me and you're bringing me your $1 million 401k and your $2 million trust, a lot of times it's only in the stock market, and that's because that's all your advisor does. And that's great if that's all you want, but if you want to diversify your assets, you want to not have 100% of your assets in the stock market, we look at the A side, the alternative side. That's real estate, that's tax write-off programs, oil and gas programs, private placements that we have there. A lot of times those are great for people that want to diversify away from the stock market. And then we look at the S part, the safe side. That's insured products backed by insurance companies. They can, from that section, I can create income guaranteed for your life. And a lot of clients, when they get closer to retirement, they want to have some of their money that's going to be guaranteed. They know they're getting the same paycheck each month, and it's going to last for their lives and their spouse's life as well. Kind of like Social Security in a way there. But we can recreate that. Now, I can't say that about the M part and the A part. They just don't offer income guaranteed for life. But I can say that about the S side, because that's backed by an insurance company that's guaranteeing that. And usually the insurance companies we work with are 100 years old. They've been around a long time. So when I do the master proprietary process, it tends to bring comfort and peace of mind to people because they know I'm not just focused on one thing. I'm doing a wide array of things for you. And you're well diversified. And I don't know when the stock market's going to go up. I don't know when the stock market's going to go down. So when you're diversified and you have a number of assets that are doing different things for you, it tends to create that good plan, that correct diversification, that correct allocation in your portfolio that you might need. So if you haven't met with us, by all means, sit down with us. I know all my clients in the room know this quite well because I do this for them all. So with that, that's enough about me. I'm going to introduce Marty Yarnell. And so Marty, why don't we bring over the chairs here and we're going to do a round table here. Oh, I was going to mention, Connor, why don't you go ahead? We are all of us fiduciaries. Absolutely. Your needs come before anyone else's. Also, California Wealth Advisors is an A+ rated Better Business Bureau company, which we're very proud of. Okay, come on. There we go. Estate planning basics. Okay, so I'm going to introduce Marty Yarnell. Marty and I have worked together, and his lovely wife, Karen, that's in the room too, for quite a few years. He's just fantastic. He's done many of the estate planning documents in the room here, has done my personal ones. He's done my 98-year-old mother's as well.
Who I liked better than Cal. No. Your mother's adorable.
My mother's adorable. Everybody loves my mother. So with that, I'm going to give you the clicker. So this one.
The one that goes up is up and the one that goes down is down.
Well,
let's see if I can do this.
My wasn't working for me. So let's see if you can get it. Okay, there you go. See, Brian, he's having trouble too. So Brian can move.
Go ahead and move it, Brian, for me. Actually, let's go back one real quick before. So anyway, as Kelly did state, I am an estate planning attorney. Let me tell you what I don't do. I don't do financial planning. That's Kelly's job. Okay. So if you ask me financial advice, I probably won't give you any. And what I probably do give you is what I heard from Kelly. I don't do taxes. That's Richard's job. Okay. I will give you some estate tax advice, but that is the limit of what I will give you on tax advice. These two people are much smarter than I am, and they can give you much better advice on that. So what do? I do estate planning. I base all my estate plans on a trust-centered plan. In other words, your trust is going to be the center of everything that we're going to do, and we're going to build on from there. We also, in my office, we will handle special needs cases and special needs trusts. We also will do Medi-Cal and Medicare, or Medi-Cal and Veterans Aid and Attendance Benefit planning as well in those situations that we need it. So anyway, let's go. I'm going to hit this slide kind of quickly. This is a difference between a will and a trust. I know I see a lot of very familiar faces in here, so I don't want to necessarily repeat everything. Let's just make it real simple. Wills are bad, trusts are good. Wills are bad because you have to go through probate. Now, with that said, I love wills because I get a ton of money when I handle a probate. I do. I literally probably make 10 times more on a probate than I will drafting a trust. Just so you know, by law, my attorney's fees on a will, I get 4% of your first $100,000 of your estate, 3 of the second, 2 of the next 8, 1% for every 100,000 beyond $1 million. Great scam. I love it. Don't do your trust. Just send me your probates. I'll be happy. But with that said, it is really wasted money. And more importantly, a will does not protect you if you become disabled. It does not have any mechanism for somebody to handle your money in the event you're disabled. Disability for me, we're talking about mental disability, the lack of ability to make decisions on yourself, on your behalf. I'm going to kind of skip through the rest of it because I've been through this a couple times on this slide in the past. If you have more questions, just let me know. But again, you want to trust, not a will. Okay. All right. Let's talk about kind of the common mistakes that I see with estate planning. I'm going to bring one up that I don't think is up here. Let me just double check something. Yes. First of all, do not believe the garbage you read on the internet or you hear on the internet or on TikTok or some young kid wearing a cowboy hat telling you how you don't have to pay the government any money because we're going to put you in an irrevocable trust. Don't do it. Please, people, don't do it. I see this all the time and it just makes me cry because it's just such bad advice. Okay. There's a reason they're selling it on the internet and not actually doing it professionally. So with that warning said, let's talk about some of the other mistakes. One, a lot of people don't think their estate's large enough to have an estate plan, right? I helped a young lady one time. I actually had to get a conservatorship over her mom because mom had no estate plan. And mom needed 2 surgeries, cataract surgery and a thyroid surgery. But unfortunately, mom lacked capacity and was not able to authorize the doctor to do it. Because of that, we actually had to go to court and get a conservatorship over her. Unfortunately, that is about a $7,000 to $10,000 process. And now you've got some judge who doesn't know you helping you make decisions or actually making a lot of decisions for you. So even if you have a small estate, you at least need a power of attorney, an advanced healthcare directive, and a HIPAA release. In fact, all adults, anyone over the age of 18 should have those 3 documents. Now, each of those documents, there is a California state form that you can print out for free. I'm going to give free advice here. It's actually pretty good forms. They're not the best. In fact, I will use the California one, but I actually add about 8 other pages of powers in the power of attorney because powers of attorneys have to be very specific. If a power is not specifically listed in the power of attorney, it doesn't exist. So don't just necessarily rely on the California ones, but it's better than nothing. Okay. Second biggest mistake, people think they can create their own estate. They do it online. This is another one I actually kind of enjoy because every time I get a Zoom, legal Zoom or one of these online trusts come in my office, I just smile because I know I'm going to make a lot of money. I'm sorry. The problem is it's like buying the one size fits all dress, right? We have a lot of women in here, and you see online this dress that fits one size fits all. First of all, it fits maybe 10% of the people, and then everyone else is either too big or too small, right? Well, that's kind of like an online trust. It fits maybe 10% of the people, but it's the rest of the people that it doesn't fit that are going to have problems. And unfortunately, that's where I have to clean up the mess when the mess is created. And unfortunately, you have to pay me a lot of money to do it. Save yourself the money. Let's do it right from the beginning and let's make sure you're set. Okay. And that kind of leads into the second one. Everyone thinks all trusts are the same and it's just boilerplate. Okay. Those kind of go together. Yes, there are certain provisions that go into every trust. That is just the way it is. There's certain requirements that either the government requires us to put in, the state requires us to put in. There's some basic language that goes in there. And that's going to be consistent with pretty much all trusts, but that's a small portion of it. Then there's going to be other parts of the trust where I put into all my trusts certain language. Why do I put it in there? Because there was either a case where there was a lawsuit over it. Now we've learned how to correct it and not have that problem in the future. And let's be honest, a lot of us have the same issues, so it's very easy to use a lot of that, but understand not all boilerplates equal as well. My trusts are about 60 pages long. You see some pages of trusts that are 10 pages long. There is a reason there is a difference between the sizes of the trust. It's what we cover. It's the type of language we use in it. Are we really covering as many contingencies as possible? When I draft a trust, my job is to try to make sure that I cover as much as possible. Reason I do that is contrary to what the advice I give my clients, and that is call me every year, say hello, let's talk about your trust to make sure everything's up to date. Clients don't do that. They usually put them in a drawer, forget about them, and now we've got a problem and I have to clean up the mess. Again, they could save themselves a lot of money by calling me on the phone once a year and saying, hey, what's going on? But I know they don't, so I try to cover as many issues as I can. Unfortunately, we can't always see everything, but we do our best. Another big issue, placing your children on title. This is one of my biggest pet peeves and one of my favorite mistakes as well. Everyone thinks they're going to bless you, thinks they're going to outsmart us, right? We're just going to put our kids on title. Great. What happens if you put your child on title of your property? They lose step up in basis. It is considered a transfer. And if it's not their primary residence, guess what? You got a property tax reassessment. Here's another problem. I had a client come in, a very nice lady. Unfortunately, she didn't come to me before she did what she did. She had actually put her son on on title of her house. And the reason she did is because son was living, taking care of mom and dad. So they said, all right, you get the house. So we're going to put you on title. Which makes sense, right? It sounds the right thing to do. The problem is mom comes in and says, I have a strange man living in my house. And I'm like going, okay. Well, what had happened is that son with his wife had been taking care of mom and dad. Now, wife says, my dad's sick. We should take care of him. I want to move him into our house. So mom comes to me and says, what do I do? Nothing. You're stuck with it because she had put them on title. Now, I know we all get along with our kids. We love our kids. They are the best kids in the world. They would never do anything like that. We will never fight with them. Sorry, BS people, okay? Let's be honest. Yeah, they get exactly. Honestly, that is the truth. They get married. Now, which brings up a good point. They get married, right? But the spouse has no say. Really? Legally, they don't, but who do they sleep with? Right? Who's in the bed next to them at nighttime? Who has their ear? So if you don't think a spouse has a lot of say of what's going on, again, you're mistaken. So let's not put ourselves in that situation. Also, even basic things that could happen. You put your kids on title. Now your grandkids are applying for college loans. Guess what? You have to put your account information on their application for those student loans, so that can count against them as well. So it's not all bad, and people do it to make things easy, right? Because we want our kids to be able to write, to pay our bills and stuff. With my mom, same thing. I had to take care of my mom. My wife and I had to pay the bills. So what I did is rather than put myself on title, I created a trust. I made myself a co-trustee. The nice thing is, if I got sued, nobody could come after that money. If my mom and I got in a fight, or she decided she liked my brother or my sister better than me, she could always fire me as a co-trustee and appoint one of them, which I would have been okay. I would have drafted the document and say, here you go now.
Easier.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Anyone who has ever been a trustee, we know, I can't read what you're saying. But it was the wife's dad that moved in that case. Somebody was asking me who moved in. It was the son's wife's dad that moved in. So that was the problem. Not funding the trust is another big problem. What does funding the trust mean? That means retitling your assets in the name of the trust quickly. Pretty much everything other than your IRAs and your 401ks should be retitled in the name of the trust. The only other exception to that is probably your cars, if they're rental car, the lease cars or the typical cars we have, we don't worry too much about them. But otherwise, everything needs to be in the trust. Because if you don't, you get to pay Marty to handle the probate. And you get to pay him all this extra money that you really should not be paying me, okay?
What about checking accounts?
Checking accounts, definitely. Yeah. Everything should be in the name of the trust. Here's one quick problem, and I know I'm running out of time. Kelly gave me 10 minutes to talk, and I laughed, and I said, that never
Marty likes to talk. Marty does like to talk.
I do like to talk. I admit it. I know my faults. The few faults I have.
No, we love you. It's good. Yeah, very few.
So Kelly brought up checking accounts. Technically, checking accounts should be in the name of the trust as well, right? Here's the problem. A lot of times when you go down to the bank to put your bank accounts into the trust, the bank's going to say, oh, you've got to close your accounts because the law requires us to close the accounts. We can't just change the title. Again, BS. They can. And if you push them on it, they say, wow, it's our policy. Why is it their policy? Because they get credit for opening new accounts. Here's the problem. We all have that one account where we have direct deposits going in, automatic payments going out, right? We all have those, okay? The problem is to close that account and reopen it and notify everyone. God help you. That'll take you months. So on that one, and that's the one exception I do let clients make, we just simply do what's called a pay on death designation, okay? But otherwise, yes, we want all accounts in the name of the trust. Again, you become disabled, your successor trustee has easy access to them. They're not relying on that power of attorney that the bank's going to fight you on because you actually typed in separate instead of writing in separate. I've had that fight where it was two agents under the power of attorney, and we typed in separate, and the California form says write it in, and they refused to accept it because it was typed in and not handwritten. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. You're great.
Problems for the bank wants the name of the trust instead of your name. So if people write you a check, I used to have problems with the person on the bank.
Yeah.
Repeat.
Okay, so the question was, is she's had problems where the bank wouldn't take checks made out to you in your personal name as opposed to you in the name of the trust and the name of the trust. That's interesting. I don't know why they did that. I would be on the phone yelling at them if you were my client and saying, you guys are completely wrong and you need to knock that nonsense off. Okay, because the trust, when you're talking a revocable living trust, it's basically what we call a see-through entity. Okay, it's a disregarded entity. Yes, technically you own it, but everyone knows who the true owner is. It's basically the grantor, the creator of the trust. I don't know why they did that. They should not have done it in that situation. You're actually the first time I've heard that come up, which is very interesting. So, you know, okay, yeah. Real quick, because I don't want to take up too much time. Finally, not reviewing your trust. Please look at your trust every year. Review, make sure the people you put down as your successor trustee are still alive. They may be dead, right? You think I'm kidding? I don't make this stuff up. Honestly, I don't make this up.
Well, the other thing is, when you set up a trust, maybe you're married and you have a husband or a wife, and maybe you have kids, and it's all going great. And then something happens. Maybe that one of the spouses passes away and you don't update your trust, or maybe you get a divorce and you don't update your trust. So yes, reviewing your trust regularly is very important. And every time I meet with someone for the first time, I always say, do you have a trust, first of all? And when's the last time you looked at it? And invariably, it's, oh, I think 20 years ago. Like, no, you've got to update it really every couple of years, I tell people. So yeah, make sure you regularly look at your trust. It's important. And make sure somebody knows where the trust is as well. Again, that's why I do my private client process, because it puts everything together in one place for you. So if something should happen to you, Marty's created the power of attorney. So if you're in the hospital and you can't make decisions, somebody has a power of attorney over your hospital stay, or if you become not cognizant anymore and you need help with your financial decisions, you have somebody that has a power of attorney. Really important documents. So thank you, Marty. Appreciate that.
Again, going back to regular reviewing it. The other thing is, it's not just somebody died, but the law changes all the time. I deal on a regular basis with people who have what we call an AB trust. Real quick, that's a trust where when the first spouse dies, the assets get split into two separate trusts. It was used originally when we dealt with situations where we had a very low estate tax exemption. Now that it's 15 million per person, 30 million per couple, very few people need a bypass or a AB trust. That does not necessarily make sense. The problem is people have these old ones that they have not looked at. And the problem is because you have an AB trust, you now have taken an estate that was not taxable and created a taxable issue when the second spouse dies, because there's no step up in basis on the B trust. So now you're paying capital gains. Okay. So your failure to follow just these few couple things will cost you money. Okay. Don't give away your money. As much as people hate to pay taxes, and I understand that, I don't understand why people don't follow some basic rules with doing their trust, because you're just giving away money as well. So let's not do that. Other than that, I think I'm running out of time, and I'm going to pass on.
All right. Thank you, Marty. So again, we're going to have, thank you, Marty. Appreciate it. Here's his data here. And we have that certainly if you don't have a pen, and we can go to that. We will have questions at the end here, so maybe save some of your questions, and those of you online as well, save some of those questions. So next we have Richard. He's in this picture here with his partner, Tony, who's in the room. Thank you, Tony. Tony spoke last time we were here, and his other lovely partner, Emma. She is not here today. Richard, before you jump into what you do and how you help people, why don't you talk about, I think each one of you do something a little bit different at your firm as partners. One of you works on different things. Is that correct?
I would say yes. Yeah, well, but it kind of happens naturally because it's the type of clients that we kind of attract, I guess you could say, you know. And And obviously what we were trained on in our first firm, Tony handles a lot of old money, a lot of big companies, a lot of tax planning in regards to closing businesses, selling real estate, things like that. I work with a lot of more on the consulting side of businesses and helping them with doing accounting, setting up accounting, and obviously do tax planning on small to medium sized businesses. Emma is growing into something of her own. She's actually growing very much this past year, and she's getting really big, good clients. But none of us are in any particular industry per se, because we all tend to work together. We may have different specialties only because of our experience, but we're a full, firm where we all work together.
Well, I like that. So if somebody comes to you and they have a business or they have a specific question, maybe you're not as keen on it as maybe Tony is, and so you can defer to them. I thought that's great. I love having partners like that.
And I make that very clear to my clients. I say, hey, I have 2 business partners. If I don't have an answer, they do. I try to keep my integrity. If I don't have the answer, I let them know and I get right back to them in a timely manner. That's how we all are. So same thing with Tony. Like Emma recently got a client that needs a lot of help with setting up their business and their accounting department, and I've been helping her a lot. And she defers to me because I have a little bit more experience in that regard.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, the slides are yours.
Okay, great.
Or Brian's gonna go to your.
Brian's controlling it. Yeah. So there's the 3 of us. Oh, it's all good. It's just a nice picture. No big deal. That's me looking all cool. That was
around here.
I was actually sitting like that, and then the photographer was like, and I guess we put it on my website. I don't know. You tell me if you think it looks good. Anyways, this is thank you, Marty. Appreciate that. So yeah, this is a little bit about myself. I've been doing accounting in general for, I want to say, almost 15 years. CPA for a little under 10 years. I have in this bio here, I have my experience. I used to do audit, financial statement audits and taxes simultaneously. That became too much work. So I just decided, IDL is going to focus mainly on taxes. But because of my experience as an auditor, it translates into the consulting and helping businesses set up, in particularly their accounting department. So it did have its benefits, although I don't practice that anymore. That's basically me. You can go to the next slide. And this is how IDL can help you. It seems like the 3 of us here, we kind of have a similar philosophy. We want to help you save your money, make money, protect your assets, right? Marty's here to protect your assets. Kelly's here to, make you money. And I'm here to save you money, right? Well, IDL is here to save you money. The tax code, as we all know, is quite complicated, and it's constantly changing, for better or for worse. It's constantly changing. So having a professional to help you interpret the tax law is really important. And just like Marty said, don't get your tax advice from TikTok. Okay, please don't. It's actually really funny. I get it. I'm sure you guys get it too. I get so many forwarded messages on Instagram and Facebook. Is this true? Is this true? Is this true? But just like a lot of lies, there's a little bit of truth in there. So it makes it seem like it's real. But at least they're sending those to me. So I can say, yeah, it's kind of true, or no, it's completely false, or yeah, but it doesn't apply to you. Because a lot of those, even the ones that are legitimate, typically don't apply to everybody.
I can't do an LLC and write off my hair product.
Oh no. Maybe. Just don't tell me it's your hair product.
Okay.
Oh my.
Yeah. Anyways, so I do not condone fraud. Okay. Anyways, but yeah, we're here to help you, to guide you, we do a lot of tax planning. You know, it's in the name. We want to plan, so it's much better to communicate with your CPA, just like to check in with your estate attorney, to check in with Kelly, and see how things are going. Let us know, because you know things happen, things change throughout the year, and it's better to tell us so we can be proactive than it is for us to find out when tax time is due, because we don't have a time machine, we can't go back, right? And then I might be able to help you, but in many cases, we might need a time machine, right? So, and also, if you don't do tax planning, you're giving money away to the government, really, because if you don't do your quarterly estimates, if you need to do quarterly estimates, and it's time to pay, and you don't pay throughout the year, then you're going to be hit with penalties, late payment penalties. And a lot of people don't even know that, because it's kind of a little tiny box at the bottom, but it can add up, especially the more money that you make, the more taxes that you owe, and that little bit could help you, right? And it's good for budgeting, right? It's really good for budgeting. We all know you get hit really big tax bill, and you weren't prepared. It's better to talk to your CPA and say, hey, look, here's the schedule of payments, right? And hey, what can I do to lower my taxes? Have the conversation, you know.
That's a conversation with me too.
Yeah, it is.
You
Yes,
with lowering taxes. Like I
Yeah.
said earlier, I love disinheriting the IRS.
that's right. I think we all do. I
Yeah,
think we all do.
there are a lot of tax advantage things you can do. So
Yeah,
yeah,
plenty,
between the
plenty.
two of us, we can definitely help.
Yes. So that's basically the gist of IDL. If you have any questions, let me know. I don't know if we have enough time for questions right now.
Yeah,
We can do it later.
So, all right, so we go to the next slide there.
That's just our information there. I got Tony, myself, Emma, our personal cell phone line, not cell phone lines. Yeah, that is actually. Yeah, there you go. You can spam us with your TikTok videos if you'd like.
No.
And yeah, so if you need any tax advice, or if you have any questions even after the show, let me know.
We have their business, both of them. We have
Yeah.
business cards of both of theirs, so we can definitely do that.
Thank you.
Once you go to the next slide.
Do taxes?
Yes.
You do taxes.
Mhm. Yeah, we prepare tax returns, and we do tax planning, and business consulting, all that stuff. Individuals, businesses, all that stuff. Yeah.
So before we jump into questions, and actually, would you mind handing me the questions over there? Thank you. And we do have, like I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of seminars throughout the year. These are the next few that we have coming up. We have a lot more than this scheduled this year, and the summer party's on there, the bottom one. We're having a carnival this year. It's going to be a really fun theme. One of our clients earlier said you need to have a party every month because your parties are so fun. So we have two big parties every year. We have the summer party, which is great, and then we have the Christmas party, which is a little more formal and really fun as well. Last year, we all dressed up as reindeer. It was really fun. It was really fun. Well, that part wasn't formal. That was more fun. But we always do something fun. So by all means, go to the website or ask us when our next events are. So here's the events page there. Okay, so there's contact information, and give us a call if you have questions or anything. So Brian, why don't you make the screen large? There we go. Brian can read my mind. Okay, questions. So let's start with tax CPA question. When does a Roth conversion make sense, and when doesn't it?
I think this is something like we can all kind of chime in about, I think. But from a tax perspective, I think it makes sense. I think the best example would be, let's say you're planning for retirement, and you may not have a Roth account, or maybe your Roth account isn't big enough. You want to make sure that because as you know, when you retire and you start taking distributions from your 401k or your IRA, you get taxed on that, right? But if you take it out of a Roth, you don't. So in many cases, people might want to lower their distribution amount so that when they're retired, they pay less in taxes. So converting into a Roth, from my perspective, would be scheduling it out with your CPA to say, okay, this is how much money you can take out before hitting the next tax bracket. and you're working, so you'll be able to pay the taxes at the time, and then start loading up that Roth, right? You don't want to do it all at once unless you want to spend a lot more money on taxes. I don't advise that, but it's everyone's choice, I guess. But I think that's the best answer I can give from my perspective.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
my perspectives for that question, I have a lot of people that want to do Roth conversions. They have big 401ks, big IRAs, big pensions, and they want to have more money in the Roth part because again, what you take out of there is tax free. So I have people do money slowly into those over the last usually for few years before they retire. But I don't want to throw you up into the next highest tax bracket, which is why I work with Richard and Tony for that, because I want to make sure the client, if we do 100,000 or we do 50,000 or whatever it is, we're not put up to that next highest tax bracket. So we're actually saving a little bit of money that we can there. Yes, it's a taxable event when that happens, whatever dollar amount you do transfer, but it grows for you tax-free. And what I also like about the Roths is if you pass away, that money goes to your heirs tax-free as well. So the more money we can get in there, again, it's a tax transference. We have trillions transferring in generations these days. Remember, just as an aside here, because I was talking about this on my radio show, there's going to be a huge transfer of wealth from husbands to wives first, because wives live longer. Women are living longer than the men. It's just a historical fact. So
You
there's,
guys love us to that.
we do.
You had that loaded in the chamber, didn't you?
There's a huge transfer before the generational wealth will happen. It's that intergeneration, if you will, wealth that will transfer too. So just make sure you're aware of that. So putting more money into those Roths, because women, I don't know if you're going to agree with me, you probably will. Women tend to want to take care of the kids, maybe a little bit more than the husbands do or the partners do. So
Yeah.
that's how I look at that. Okay.
Real quick, also remember your IRA and your 401k, when you die and you leave it to your children, they have to take it out in 10 years.
Right.
Okay, so if you've got $1 million IRA and they take it out over 10 years, and let's assume they do 10 equal payments, that's $100,000 a year, assuming my math is right.
Yep.
The problem is if your kid's already making a good amount of money, you've now just kicked them into a next higher tax bracket. So you've now they're going to end up probably paying more taxes than if you do the conversion now.
Yeah.
One other thing real quick is that it's harder for me to control the money coming out of an IRA or a 401k doing an estate plan, because we don't really use what's called conduit language anymore in our trust, or we do it much less. Without getting into too much difficulty, the problem is, do you want to leave a $10 million IRA or $1 million IRA to your 18-year-old kid, your 20-year-old kid? So you have to think about those things. So that sometimes in of itself is worth sometimes paying a little extra taxes now, but in the long run, you're going to pay less taxes overall, or your kids will. So that's where you have to sit with these two and actually kind of go over that. I see that all the time, and that's my referral out. It's like, you need to go talk to them and they'll figure this out for you.
Yeah, good. Okay, estate planning question. What are the things you consider in creating estate plans for families?
Good question. One, obviously taxes, that's kind of the biggest one, but believe it or not, taxes is kind of the smaller part of what we worry about, just because the estate tax exemption is $15 million. And per person, it's 30 million per couple. It's literally less than 1/2% of this entire country will ever pay estate taxes. Granted, it's a little bit jaded because we live in Southern California where there's a lot of wealth, but in most places it's not an issue. I'd say the biggest thing I consider is family dynamics. Okay. I always say 95% of the families are dysfunctional. The other 5 just lie about it.
Oh my.
Much of what it's true. Listen, it's various levels, right? There's various levels, but that is a huge part of what I have to consider. What's going to happen when you're gone? Mom or dad, a lot of time, are the glue that keeps the family from killing each other, right? Now, all of a sudden, when they're gone, the kids are at each other's throats. So that is a big part of what I do. Sometimes we have kids that we may need to give a little extra guidance to, okay? This is different than we don't agree with all their choices, but there are some kids that just make wrong choices. So maybe we want to consider spendthrift trusts in those situations. We want to protect those kids, okay? On that note, I always tell people, try not to rule from the grave unless you have to, okay?
again, there's a difference between making choices we don't agree upon versus those that are really wrong choices. Okay.
I often say I need a psychology degree. I am imagining you would absolutely agree with me on that one. We really do have to have psychology degrees sometimes.
Well, I don't envy him because I've just doing trust returns sometimes and having to deal with the siblings that are fighting each other. I'm like, yeah, man.
And it can literally be because you went to your son's soccer game and missed your daughter's dance recital.
So they are mad and they're gonna fight over the 99-cent pink toothbrush,
Okay, because that's the way they get back at each other.
Oh, oh my.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh.
let's see. Wealth advisor question. How do you coordinate investment strategy with tax and estate planning decisions? Ah, great question. Okay, how do I coordinate investment strategies? Okay, the first questions I ask is, what do you need? What are you looking for? So if somebody says, I just sold my business, I want to avoid and delay as much taxes as I can. Well, that's going to certainly direct me in one direction rather than another. If you come to me and you say, I'm retiring next month, I've got a $2 million IRA, I need to create income off of it. Well, that's going to be different than somebody I'm going to talk to that's somebody selling their business. So really it starts at, well, what are you trying to do? What can I help you with? And then if they're in a high tax bracket, or like I say, they're selling their business for a lot of money. I'm working with a client right now. He's selling his business for 40 million, started with nothing. Good for him.
Wow.
That's a big tax burden. So I'm absolutely going to bring in the tax advisor there, Richard and Tony, and talk to them. Okay, what can we do here? How can we avoid and delay taxes here? And maybe it's setting up certain kinds of trust, which could be very beneficial for clients. Maybe it's making certain kind of investments that give you tax write-offs. So there's a lot of things we can do in a lot of different areas there. I would say, call us and get yourself on our calendar with us, and we'll walk you through what's available to you if you're in one of those situations. So again, selling a highly appreciated asset, selling a business, retiring and needing to create income. A lot of my clients want to create tax-free income. So again, we need to look at what kind of assets do you have? What can I move around there to create that tax advantaged or tax-free income for you? So there's a lot of planning that goes into that, a lot of knowledge. I mean, I started in this business, I'm not going to say, many decades ago. So there's a lot of knowledge that comes, and then I use these two as sounding boards a lot of times on what to recommend for a client as well. So great question. Okay, let's see, Richard, for you, how should taxes be planned around selling a business or real estate?
Yeah. I'll have to piggyback on what you said and say that we should work as a team, right?
Yeah.
Because I think it's true. I'm sure there's a trust that it can be set up, right? I'm sure there's some investments that you can do. I know that you do, correct me if I'm wrong, but things that we can do with like 1031 exchanges and stuff like that, right? Which would be the advice that I would give my clients. I wouldn't do it. I can't do it, but I'll defer it to somebody else, quarterback it over to one of you guys. So as far as a business is concerned, the biggest thing is the underlying assets, and that can be actually negotiated with between the buyer and the seller. That actually has a tax advantage on both sides. So if you have a good CPA that can help you do what's called a purchase price allocation, which says, hey, these are intangible assets, which are taxed at capital gains rates. And this is what they're paying for your fixed assets and so on and so forth, your accounts receivable, blah, blah, blah. If you try to increase that intangible part or the goodwill part of the sale of the business, you can save a lot of tax. And also when you're buying something, you might want to actually increase the fixed assets so you can get depreciation when you buy it. So it's really the underlying assets that I would consider in helping them negotiate a good sale. For real estate, I already mentioned 1031 exchanges, but you should also talk to your CPA, because if that real estate property is a rental property, for example, and you've been taking depreciation on it, you may think, well, I bought it for $300,000, I sold it for $800,000, I have a $500,000 gain. But if you've been taking depreciation, you could actually end up with $800,000 gain, and a lot of people don't know that. And it's because of the depreciation. The IRS allows you a deduction every year, but then they ask for it back when you sell it. And when you sell it, it's not capital gains anymore. It's ordinary income because your depreciation was an ordinary deduction and they want their money back. So a lot of this just has to do with just communicating with your CPA and how taxes are going to impact the sale or purchase of real estate or a business.
Can I piggyback up on something here?
Sure.
A lot of times I will get them involved, going back to when I was talking about family dynamics. I have a client who owns a lot of property, right? A lot of rental property. One child wants to take over the rental properties, the other one doesn't. So when I'm dealing with the family dynamics, that's one of the things I'm looking at. Are these kids going to be able to handle the property together? And a lot of times that answer is no. So that's when I'm looking at Richard and Kelly to say, okay, can we do a 1031 exchange? Is there something else, another mechanism that's going to allow me to pass that money to the children where we can separate them? They're not fighting over the rental property. Sometimes you have where one child is taking care of the property and the other one's off goofing off, right? So there's resentment. And unfortunately, when we get the spouses involved, which was brought up, women protect their husbands, right? You're really protective of us. Thank God. We need the protection, trust me. But sometimes what happens is where you have one one brother doing all the work and the other one not, there's conflict there. Well, that's where I start bringing them in to say, okay, let's change the types of assets we have that allow me then to split the money and let them kind of go their separate ways. So that's really where we all work together. And I need Richard and Kelly behind me to do that, because otherwise it's something I don't do, but it comes up all the time. It goes back to the team approach in dealing with what's best for our clients' interests.
Yeah, and I do a lot of 1031 exchanges for folks. And a lot of times when you've owned a property for 20 years or so and you've been managing it, and either you're managing it and you don't want to manage it anymore, but you still want the income, but you want to sell it, but you don't want to pay the taxes, that's when people come to me, because we can do 1031 exchanges for you. Now, you have to be an accredited investor to work with us for those, and you have to be a client of ours as well. But a lot of times I do that. Now, if it's an inherited situation where it's a rental property and two kids that are fighting, as you mentioned, one of them wants to keep it, or they both want to sell it, but one of them wants to do a 1031 exchange and the other one doesn't. They want to take the cash and pay the taxes. They can do that. Actually, you can do that. We can do that with 1031 exchanges. So a lot of people aren't aware of that. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that is something that we deal with a lot. And, all three of us work together for those kind of situations. Okay. Marty.
Yep.
I've done my trust. Now what do I do?
You got this beautiful trust. It's in this beautiful binder. They've given you this nice binder. It's leather bound, looks gorgeous. Great. Unless you transfer the assets into the trust or you fund the trust, that's a paperweight.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a paperweight. Again, it comes back to, you've got to fund your trust. You have to make sure you get all those assets into the trust. That includes savings bonds. That includes some of the dumbest things you may think. But I did have a young lady come in with a stack of savings bonds. Nice thick stack, right? And they were all in mom's name. Mom had a decent trust, not great, but it was okay. And she's like, what do I do? I said, well, did mom have a pour over will? Which is the type of will that I call a legal pooper scooper. Basically, what it says is, I screwed up. I didn't listen to Marty. I want these assets put in the trust, but we're going to add a little insult to injury and we're going to pay Marty to have to go through probate. Okay. That's kind of what it says. Nice legal term. But anyway, so she gives me this whole stack. And I said, well, if it's under $166,000, there's a certain way we can do it without doing a formal probate. I said, if it's more than that, you're screwed. And I took copies of them, sent them off to somebody to give me a value on it. He calls me up, tells me what the value was. This was before I actually knew you, believe it or not.
Oh, long time ago.
This was a long time ago. So he tells me the price. I call her up. I said, do you want the good news or the bad news? And she goes, well, give me the bad news first. I said, well, you're going to pay me $7,000 to $8,000 to go through probate. She's like, well, what the hell is the good news, Marty? I said, well, they're worth $250,000, right?
Wow. Wow.
But here's the thing. She had to pay I think it was like almost $8,000 to go through probate, because her mom did not take that extra step and fund the trust. Other thing I'm going to say, because I hit on this earlier, is please review those trusts on a regular basis. If you're my client, call me once a year, say hello to me, tell me what's going on in your life. I will tell you what's going on in the world of trusts. And if we need to make changes, great. If not, call me next year and we'll have a good time.
Very good. Okay, I think probably last question here. What mistakes do you see? This is for me. What mistakes do you see people make when markets are volatile? Oh, there's a loaded question there, right? Everybody in the room. Okay, markets are volatile. Period. Markets are volatile. It's the new norm. It is the new norm. I mean, I started in the business in the 80s and, you know, the Dow was 800, I think, and we're at 5,000 now. So markets will be volatile. They're going to go up and down, which is why I do the mass proprietary process, right? You saw my chart that I did. Some money in the market, some money alternatives, some money in safe money. So when I do that, when markets are volatile, we've got a third of our money that's in the market. We've probably got 2/3 that's not, that's doing just fine. So markets are going to be volatile. Interest rates are going to increase and decrease. Inflation will come and go. It's just what's going to be happening. Tax laws will change. Estate planning laws will change. It's just the new norm, which is why we work as such a great team here, because we're up on what's going on in the markets. We're up on what's going on in estate planning and tax laws. So that's to your benefit to have a team like this on your side. And yes, we work independently, but we defer to each other all the time and give each other referrals. And many of the clients in here are clients of all of ours, because it's important to take care of your entire financial house and not be reactive. So people in volatile markets tend to be reactive. Don't be reactive. Don't be emotional. That's one of in my book. I don't have one here. In my book, The Great Retirement Mystery, How to Avoid the 6 Biggest Blunders. One of those blunders I see is people make decisions emotionally. So when I make recommendations, they are 2-year, 5-year, 10-year investment cycles we're looking at here. I'm not going to do something that's a 1 month, let's buy today and sell it tomorrow. I'm just not going to do that. I did that in the 80s. I don't do that anymore. They're 2-year, 5-year, 10-year investments. You don't come to me a month later, 6 months later, and talk about something that's up or down. We're going to let it go through its cycle. Generally, I'm a very conservative advisor anyways. I'm going to recommend something that's probably not real volatile. I don't do futures and I don't do options. So let's make sure when volatile markets happen, we have a great team behind us. We have the proper documents set up. We've got the proper taxes going for yourself. We've got the proper allocation in your investment portfolio, that everything's working out just fine. And then you can go live your happy life. I want people, I specialize in retirement planning, creating income, and tax planning as well. All those things go together. And a lot of those things are needed when you get closer to retirement or in retirement. So if that is you, that's what I want you to be. I want you to have a happy life and a happy retirement. That's really the direction I go in to try and help everyone. So with that, thank you everybody in the room. We appreciate it. Marty and Richard, thank you so much. And Tony that's in the room as well. And Aaron, thank you. Appreciate it. Anybody that has questions, please, if I didn't get to your question, we will get to it tomorrow. We'll have a call back to you in the room. We're going to hang around a little bit so you can ask some few questions. We do have an evaluation sheet in the room. Please, everybody fill one of those out. We have prizes for you all. So with that, thank you again. Appreciate it all and have a great night.